Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Stock Martin channel. I have an awesome video for you today. We have a special guest with us today. It's Micah Bergdale, the CEO of a brand new EV startup company that will be renting electric vehicles. I am very excited to have him on the show, and I did just want to introduce him. This is the CEO of Jules. Mr. Micah, how are you doing today?
Good. How are you doing?
Doing great. Welcome to the channel. If you can tell us about your exciting business that I'm really interested to learn about.
Yeah, so we started last year. We went on the Start Engine campaign, got our first Tesla Model 3s that we were able to put into our fleet, and have been testing out the market on the Turo platform initially. There's some unique challenges for Turo within New York State. So we're actually the only Teslas that are listed in New York State because of some of the insurance requirements around that. So we kind of have a nice little corner to the market, being able to test it out. And from that experimentation, we have a website and mobile app that are going to be launching here, planning on April 1st.
Excellent. And so I have looked at your company, and one of the best things about it, it's helping people and it's also helping the environment. How did you actually get the idea to start this company?
So I'm a bit of a serial entrepreneur by background. I've started up a few different companies, one within the mobility space that was focused on kind of more mass transit related solutions. And we started doing more like car share, ride share type integration into what I developed with my last company. Right before COVID hit, I actually started also a parking artificial intelligence software company too. And so I've been within the transportation sector more at large and always fascinated by what's happening within the EV sector and just really passionate about trying to see what we could do to expand EV access within the rental car industry in particular. It's just really felt like that it's been very limited access. And one of the challenges that we've definitely seen, and this was kind of my personal inspiration for it, is when you drive a Tesla, when you drive some of these different EVs, they're just so fundamentally different than a traditional gas car. And so many folks who want to experiment with it, get behind the wheel, maybe take it out for a few days, a long weekend. They just have so many questions about, how does it work? It's a computer on wheels, so they're a little bit more technically complicated than the standard car, and people need a little bit more hand holding in that process. And so I actually did a Turo rental here a couple of years ago that I rented a Model 3 and did a road trip down to Virginia Beach from New York City. And the thing that made that experience so great was that the owner of the vehicle gave me his phone number. We were able to text, we FaceTimed. And over the course of a week, I maybe spent 10 minutes with him, but that 10 minutes was so critical to helping me just feel more comfortable being behind the vehicle. And he spent, again, another maybe 5, 10 minutes before I took the vehicle out of the parking lot where we met, to be able to just go through the basics of the car because I'd never driven a Tesla before. I'd ridden in one, but I'd never driven one. And so I thought it was just so helpful to have that kind of level of just base knowledge from somebody who's passionate about the vehicle. And I wanted to carry that over into a rental car operation where, we're not just handing the keys to somebody and saying, good luck, don't call us until you end up needing to bring the vehicle back. We wanted to actually make sure people felt comfortable getting behind the wheel of an EV. And I've talked to so many different folks who said, I really want to try it, but I'm nervous. They have these apprehensions about different things. They're pro environment. They realize the environmental benefits. They just get a nervousness about them of the charging, how to charge, where to charge. And if you can handhold somebody through that process, I think you'd get a lot more converts into EVs. So that was really the big inspiration for why we started this company.
That sounds really good. It seems like you're really focused on customer care here, which is number one priority, and especially growing a business, any business, does that matter? What I guess sets you apart from companies such as Hertz? We have heard most recently, in the past, I believe, few months back, that Hertz is looking to get into Teslas and renting those out. What would set your company apart from, let's say, like the big dogs, the big companies such as Hertz?
So, I mean, with Hertz right now, if I noticed, I was actually saw an ad this morning, and I just saw the fine print, and that was the first time I've noticed that fine print, which is that some markets might have limited availability, something along those lines. Because in the northeastern region of the U.S., there are no Teslas available from Hertz. They've kind of gone to this national advertising campaign, which I find really fascinating that they're spending so much money on it, and yet you couldn't actually rent a Tesla here if you wanted to. Now, from what I've looked at on their website, it does seem like they are centered around Southern California, which makes sense. California is one of the biggest markets that they've got for Teslas. And so they think that they're kind of tapping into that. But aside from the Hertzes of the world kind of making a minimal investment, we want to be purely EV, and we want to build an entire system and company around the idea of renting an EV. And part of that means, for Teslas, if you own a Tesla, a lot of owners that might be watching this video know there's a Tesla app, and you go through the app and you can be able to unlock the door and start up the air conditioning if it's hot in the summer, or the heat if it's cold in the wintertime. You can be able to do different preferences and settings on the car. You can be able to do limits on speed limit, for example, of how fast the car could potentially go. Just a lot of different things that you could be able to adjust with that. And there is limited capability as a renter to be able to do that, because the Hertzes of the world, they're just going to hand you that key card that comes with the Tesla, and then kind of have you boxed into a preset designation that they've put together for what that Tesla can and can't do. We want to give people a little bit more of a full experience. So Tesla's given us access to their APIs, where we're actually bringing certain functionality of the Tesla vehicle directly into our app, which is amazing. That, just unlocking the vehicle, starting up the heat if it's wintertime before you actually get into the vehicle, little things like that, that give people maybe a bit more of a full Tesla experience. And trying then to do that for Rivian, for Lucid Motors, for Polestar. We've been reaching out to all the different EV companies that are out there, as well as the traditional auto manufacturers that are starting to ramp up their EV production, about how we can do a tighter integration. And my background being software, I'm a super tech geek. Like I love the idea of doing like tighter integration that gives customers a more real experience of what it would be like to own the car. So that's really the goal at the end of the day, is for people to feel like they're getting that full experience, not just kind of a watered down version of what it's like to rent a Tesla.
No, that sounds really good. So, can you walk me through? Let's say I'm a customer and I want to rent, let's say, a Tesla Model Y. What would the procedure be for me? Right now, you're based in New York. What would the procedure be for me? Let's say I'm going to New York to get that vehicle.
So if you were talking about today, it would be going to Turo, and then you'd see on Turo for the New York City listings, the model, well, it's all Model 3s right now. We have a Model Y coming
Okay.
next month. And so we're recording this right at the end of February. So in March, we're expecting to have our first Model Y get delivered. And we have a number of other Tesla models that are on order too. But you would see the different options for the various different vehicles. On Turo, they actually listed out like it's the red one, the white one. You're renting that specific individual vehicle. What we're doing on our own platform, which will be at drivejoules.com. And actually, people can test it out if they want to go to beta.drivejoules.com, and they can kind of see what we're doing and how we're experimenting with it. We want as many beta testers as we can possibly get. But the ability then to say, I just want to rent a Model Y, and I want to get a standard range versus a long range. So those are kind of the preferences that we're putting into that. We're not getting down to like individual color, or that you're running this specific Model Y. But so it is a little bit more generic. But if you think about the experience of going on to a Hertz or an Avis website, where you're selecting, I just want a mid-size sedan, or maybe I want a green vehicle, whatever that might ultimately mean. You just kind of get a random, like it could be a Nissan, it could be a Ford, it could be a Toyota. So it just kind of whatever random car happens to be there. We're going down to a little bit more specificity than what a Hertz or an Avis would do, where we're saying like, this is the model that you're getting. Or if you want a Rivian, you're going to get an R1T or an R1S. So having like a sufficient number of vehicles for at least a certain model type that are going to be available as part of our fleet.
I think that's wonderful. I mean, I've rented vehicles before, and I always, request something, and then they always tell me, we'll see what we can do. And I never get the vehicle that I want. So, I mean, that's amazing that you're doing that. And I think it's actually great. Now, you did mention a few vehicles there. Which ones are you looking to add to your fleet in the next few, projected plans that you have in the next few months? You mentioned Rivian, you mentioned Polestar. Could you kind of tell us a little bit about what your thoughts are on that?
So we've already put in orders with Tesla that should get us over 20 Teslas. It's going to be
Wow.
predominantly Model 3s, but we do have a fair amount of Model Ys. We have put in our first order for two Model X's and two Model S's. And again, those are high-end premium luxury vehicles. We don't necessarily see those as kind of being the everyman type of vehicle that's going to be rented. But at the same time, we kind of wanted those to be an option for people that did want a little bit more of a luxury experience. The same goes with Rivian. We've ordered 10 Rivians. It's probably going to be more of their R1Ss, which is the SUV. Particularly in New York, I'm not sure how many people are necessarily going to want the pickup truck, although we've talked to people about like just local moves and stuff, or just like being able to have access to a pickup truck that they feel is a little bit more environmentally friendly. So, we are looking at, what types of vehicles end up going into this mix. We've also put in an order for Polestar 2. We've only done one of those, though. We just kind of want to experiment with it a little bit, put our toe in the water. I will say, as somebody that's been able to test drive that, great experience. It feels like something made by Volvo. And Polestar is a subsidiary of Volvo, for those that don't know. So I had a great time, great experience with that, and would really love to kind of see that end up getting pushed. And then we also put in a Lucid Motors order for the Grand Touring, and we're on the wait list for the Dream. I don't know if we necessarily want to go as far as getting a Dream edition, but had an opportunity. I was just in Arizona here just over a week ago to be able to check out the Lucid Motors vehicle. Absolutely loved it. Beautiful design. Super excited about the idea that it would be in our fleet. And again, it's a premium luxury experience for some of these vehicles. But if we get people that come back over and over again, we want to have those type of really nice experiences. We're going to have rewards programs and points, so people would be able to have that opportunity to have a little bit more of a luxury experience.
That's really good. Yeah. I mean, that's awesome that you're having that nice fleet to there, and I definitely think the consumer will really, really like that. Now, Micah, you did mention that you have a computer background, and you're mentioning, I guess, the app. Can you tell us what the app will actually entail? You said that it has special features, like it will connect to Tesla's AI, but what kind of features will be exclusive, I guess, to your company?
Yeah, I mean, and to be fair, Tesla
Mhm.
has these APIs open to a number of different third parties that want to be able to do development. Sometimes it's just more kind of groups that want to do a little bit of hacking around with the vehicle and experiment with it.
Okay.
But I haven't seen any of the rental car industry really embrace this. So I do think we'll be a first in that. But it is an exclusive, meaning that if somebody else came along, that as long as they signed the NDA and certain agreements around it, that they potentially would be able to access those APIs as well. But our goal for the initial launch is, the basics of lock unlock, being able to start up the vehicle ahead of time, whether it's cooling or heating the vehicle ahead of time, being able to set any type of seat preferences, being able to set any type of speed preferences associated with that driver. One thing that is kind of interesting about what we can do on our back end, so it isn't so much what you'd see as a consumer on the app, is that we can have risk profiles. So if we know, hey, this person has one ticket that was a speeding ticket, but it's pretty recent. We don't want to say no to renting to them, but we might want to limit how fast they could potentially go in the vehicle. We have those types of capabilities where we can all of a sudden create risk profiles in our backend too. So just a lot of creative things that, again, with my software and tech background, those are the types of things I love to think about, and how we can kind of customize that experience for each user, and make sure that we're also operating a company that can be successful and minimizing any risk, which the insurance industry absolutely loves. And that's probably been our biggest challenge for getting off the ground, has been the insurance piece of it.
Gotcha. Now, you are very young to be a CEO, and I did do a little bit of background, and this isn't your first rodeo. You've actually started businesses before. Can you talk about that a little bit so the viewers can know that this isn't your first business that you're working on?
Yeah, so I mean, just a brief summary of my background. Started at Apple right out of college, and then worked as an independent consultant with Apple, which was my own business. But you're an independent consultant. It was just a few of us. One of my best friends from Apple actually joined up with me, and we were business partners. And then he actually helped me start Bytemark, which was based here in New York City, and that was focused on the mobility transportation space. So we went to train, bus, ferry providers, and municipal networks too for transportation, in order to white label out an app that was focused on providing transportation information, mobile ticketing, any type of trip planning functionality, alerts messaging. So if there's some sort of problem with the transportation network, that people would be aware of that. And so just the capability then for these different transportation operators to kind of in a modern way communicate with their customer base. And that was super exciting, had a lot of fun with that. We started that in 2011, sold that off to Siemens Mobility in 2019. Their VC division, which is called Next 47, was one of our investors a few years earlier to the sellout. And we had a great experience with that. And so kind of taking my experiences with what happened with that company and transferring it over to what I'm doing right now, which is in the EV rental space. There was an interim software development I did from a company called Optacity. Poor timing because it was focused on the parking industry and we were scheduled to launch in March 2020 when COVID ended up hitting. And the parking industry hasn't completely recovered, but that was focused on artificial intelligence for tapping into security camera footage for parking lot operators. And the great thing about that was you could determine like what's the availability of space, what's the potential capacity, is there anything that might be going on that they need to be alerted to, and then being able to translate that into dynamic pricing. So there's a number of different mobile apps that are out there for consumers that allow them to kind of find different parking. If your lot isn't full at a given point in time, you all of a sudden can kind of feed data in to say, hey, Spot Hero, let people know that we're giving a $2 off for parking discount, something along those lines that just kind of allows them a little bit more dynamic marketing and of the parking. And so it was a lot of fun. Unfortunately, it was just very poorly timed. But again, taking those experiences that we had of what we developed and thinking about how that can apply into the rental car industry.
That's great. Where do you see your company, Jules, in the next, let's say, first short term, let's say in the next 6 months? And then if you can kind of project maybe a little bit longer term, maybe a little bit over a year, if you can kind of talk about what the game plan is. And also, we will touch on how investors can get interested and get invested into your company. But if you can just tell us at the beginning, what is your plan in the next 6 months?
So the most immediate term, we are going to be going live where we're directly renting to customers. So it's no longer going through the Turo platform, but our own platform. And again, that is anticipated for the beginning of April. We had been waiting for the insurance piece of that to come together. And then from there, we're probably going to expand to Chicago. That is the expectation. The insurance company is asking us to be in a Midwestern market. The business partner that I referred to that we worked at Apple together, he's based out of Chicago. So looking at working with him on how we can bring this into the Chicagoland area. And part of what we've developed too within our software platform is that we allow for third-party EV owners to be able to list their vehicles similar to a Turo type of functionality, but with a twist where we're actually managing the vehicle on their behalf. So Turo kind of, for those that may not have used Turo, it operates more like a listing platform. You as an owner, whether you own one car or a dozen cars, can go on there and be able to list out these cars, and then people contact you about renting that specific car. What we're looking at doing is going to any individual that might own a Tesla or any other EV and saying, hey, we're going to take a little bit larger of a percentage, but we're going to manage the process of communicating with the customer, cleaning the car, insuring the car, making sure that if there's any issues that happen during that rental process, that we're managing that on your behalf. I think that's kind of been one of the downsides, and I've seen this happen with some of the Turo rentals, is that because it's more like a listing service, they don't really get involved if there's some sort of incident. It's kind of between the owner of the vehicle and the person who rented the vehicle, which can get a little bit messy. And a lot of times, if you're an owner, especially of a very expensive EV, you don't necessarily want to be worrying about chasing after people because they ended up doing some sort of damage or there was some sort of problem. So we're really trying to take a larger role within that entire process. And some of that inspiration was come from partnering up with a super host that actually worked on the Turo platform. That we've seen that happen in market after market now, where these super hosts are actually managing vehicles on behalf of owners because they're just looking at vehicles as being an asset class. And they're saying, you know what, I want to invest in something that I know is a physical asset and that can have some level of return. And I'm just going to allow this third party to be able to manage the vehicle on my behalf. It's a bit like the Airbnb model where you're starting to see more and more property managers now that are just utilizing Airbnb instead of the individual owners of the house or the apartment listing directly on there. So we're taking a lot of inspiration from that. It's referred to as evangelist, and so with the capital EV on it. So people that want to be
That's
able
cool.
to really contribute to the overall effort, that they can be able to list their EV on there. And part of that is, now we don't have to worry about buying every single vehicle that we're putting into the fleet. So it becomes less capital intensive, which makes us a little bit more of a tech/software play instead of just being a traditional rental car company, which I think is important to kind of emphasize in terms of the model that we're going after. And if people ended up investing into the company, that they're actually investing not just in us going out and buying a fleet of vehicles, but also really into the technology piece of it. We are listed on Start Engine. You can check us out at startengine.com/Jules. And really want to talk to anybody that's interested in what we're doing. We've had some great questions that come up in the comments within the campaign that have led to some really nice investments. We've raised just over $250,000, and our goal is to raise over $1 million in the campaign.
I'll definitely put that down below in the description as well. So, can you let us know how much does it cost to rent, vehicles? Do you have like a daily rate? Do you have like a weekly rate? What is that for consumers that did want to go get an EV or rent an EV from you right now?
So it's been a bit dynamic. So January, because of the Omicron surge, we definitely saw a downturn in the overall demand, and then we saw it tick back up here in February, and now going into March, we see pretty strong rental demand again. Within January, we were down below $100 a day for the rentals, and now we're back up around $150 a day. So it really does kind of, and again, limited capacity. So we're trying to kind of balance out, how much should we be running these for? We want to give people a great experience. But we also, it's a company, we have to generate revenue in order to keep on reinvesting into the company. So it's generally been between that $100 to $150 a day range, which isn't unlike the rental car industry too, where there is a little bit of dynamic pricing that happens there based off of where the demand is. We're going to try to, bring this so that anybody could be able to rent it. So our goal is to be under $100 for a lot of these vehicles, especially like, if they're a $30,000 vehicle, $40,000 vehicle, our goal would be to be below $100 a day. And, we'll see how far we end up getting with that goal. The demand's actually been really high. So we also have to kind of balance that out too.
That's actually a really good price, I think. I mean, that's amazing for a EV rental, in my opinion. Do you have any restrictions on mileage whenever you do rent these?
So right now it's unlimited mileage.
Awesome.
Again, we're trying to kind of base it off of, most people are not, doing a cross country road trip with
Right.
this thing. It's pretty localized around, like they go to Eastern Pennsylvania, maybe they go to upstate New York, maybe they go down to the Jersey Shore. But we just wanted to be flexible in terms of what we were doing, and it's built into the day rate then too. So the day rate might be a little bit higher, but then you end up having an unlimited amount of miles that you're able to do with that. We might play around with what that means for charging and the cost for charging. We've generally built the cost of charging into the day rate too, but we're also seeing some people say, "Hey, could I get a discount because the place that I'm going is already going to have free charging? So I'd love to be able to just pay a lower rate and then I can charge it at the location that I'm going to." So we're trying to kind of find that flexibility of the amount of miles, what charging gets built into that,
Yeah.
and playing around with that model a bit.
Do you have any future thoughts or plans to partner up with any of the charging, the EV charging companies, such as, for example, ChargePort, Volta? Do you have any, plans on doing that in the future?
So we've had Blink access in our
Okay.
cars. So we've had their card available actually when you rent one of our cars. With Teslas, I think people, especially because they want the speed of like a quick charge. And I mean, that is one of the things that makes Tesla so attractive, is they built out this amazing network
Yeah.
of superchargers around the country. That's what I ended up utilizing when I've done my long road trips, is the
Mm.
superchargers, because I generally find, they're at a convenience store. We're there for 15, 20 minutes, and then we're on our way and we're headed down the road again. We do want to look at other, third-party charging. And also, I mean, when you bring in the Rivians and the Lucid Motors and all of those, you have to be working with, whether it's Blink, ChargePoint, Electrify America, any of these various different charging networks that are out there. I think there'll be a lot of consolidation within that industry. There's going to be kind of a lot of different types of partnerships that are going to be out there. We're absolutely open to exploring various different types of partnerships and trying to see what the best way is to make sure that people feel like they have easy access to charging whenever they're making a road trip.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I'm actually excited about renting electric vehicles. So whenever I do, like I mentioned, I do rent vehicles quite a bit, and I can never find anybody that rents out electric vehicles. So hands down, my hat's off to you for coming up with this company, this great idea. I think it's going to be, a great idea. I wish you all the best for this company. I am going to put down below how to invest into your company. Can you tell us about that one more time? And I will put the links down below as well.
Yep. So for SEC regulations, kind of limited in what all I can say. The main thing is definitely just go to the Start Engine campaign. You can
Okay.
check out all the details about, what the investment entails. There's different opportunities to be able to invest on the page. And Start Engine really kind of details every single kind of legal aspect. One thing to mention is that we do have to file with the SEC as part of being a CF crowdfund raise. So there are
Okay.
some rules that are around kind of what you're allowed to talk about. So we
Okay.
just try to kind of limit too many details about a campaign and just kind of refer people over to the page itself.
Perfect. I'll put that down there. There's actually a lot of great information on there. There's how much money you've already raised, what your goal is. Also, there is a deadline. Can you tell us about the deadline that you're going to be raising that amount money? I believe it's $1 million that you're trying to raise. Is that
Yeah,
accurate or?
the campaign ends. It's anticipated to end March 29th. For full disclosure, there are options to be able to extend out the campaign. So depending on how
Okay.
close we are to the goal, we potentially could extend out the campaign. But the March 29th is the current deadline.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Micah, for being on the show. I greatly, greatly appreciate it. And I will definitely put down all the links down below. It was a pleasure talking to you. Congratulations on all your success, all your businesses, and this future endeavor that you have. I think it's a great opportunity to get into the EV space, not only to get into the EV space, EV rentals. It's the first one that I've heard of that I think it's going to succeed. I think it's going to do great. So, again, my hats off to you. Congratulations to you. I wish you all the best. And I will put those links down below so my viewers can research more about the company. Go to that Start Engine website and also to learn more about you. I believe you have a video in there as well that you made. I watched it. It was a very nice video to give us a bit of a background where you came from and what inspired you. So I think that people should definitely go and look at that as well if you're interested in Jules in this company. But thank you so much, Micah. I guess I really appreciate it again. And but thank you, and we wish you the best of luck. And Stock Martin channel really appreciates you doing this interview. Go to that page, everybody, so you can take a look at this enormous opportunity in the EV rental space, the first EV. It's great for the environment, great for people, and we definitely appreciate you having on a channel.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, thank you so much. Have a great day. Well, I hope that you liked this video and I hope that you learned something new. It was a pleasure doing the interview with the CEO, Micah Bergdale of Jules, the first electric vehicle rental company that is based in New York City. But this company has great potential and I definitely wish him the best. Before we end this video, give me that big thumbs up to keep me alive on YouTube. Smash that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, hit all to get my latest uploaded videos. Don't forget to share this page with others, but most importantly, don't forget to get your free stocks. Right now, Moomoo can get you a free Lucid stock by opening an account down below. Put in $100 into a brand new account. That Lucid stock will be yours. But in addition to this, Moomoo will give you up to 5 free stocks each valued up to $3,500. That's an opportunity to get $17,500 in free stocks. In addition to this, Webull is giving one of the best promotions as well. Put in any amount of money. That's right, even 1 penny into a brand new account to Webull. You will get 3 free stocks, each valued potentially up to $2,300. That is a chance to get $6,900 in free stocks through Webull. Take advantage of these huge opportunities. Again, thank you so much for watching. Have a great week, and I can't wait to talk to you on the next one. Thank you.